then I'll just put it in reception later. Screw it. Pretty much. Like this.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we got C for yesterday.
Go ahead. I'm going to sit up in front.
Go here, boss.
So far. I don't like it.
Which ones are you coming to tomorrow? I have a group project. Really? My mom's like super understanding. Your mom wasn't. Yeah, my mom's like, I know you're trying. It's a lot harder.
And she said just because I have like Monday and Friday off, she's saying that like I have so much to do. Like, no. Like, what does she want you to do on her side? She just doesn't want to. Oh, okay. I was at
That's so weird. She likes to control it. She like, she used to make, does she still make her come home every other weekend? Yeah, she used to make her come home every other weekend because she didn't want her to party while she was at school.
That way.
That's what I'm saying for this one.
Well, we'll at least have something for this record.
My mom got rid of my room at home. I'm not even allowed to stay at my house. I can't remember the last time I stayed the night there. She gave my room away.
I'm from Ohio. Even if I would have lived, this is
No, see, I don't have a chance to. The good thing is I got two classes I'm taking.
Is that true?
Only one.
Can I just watch this one?
I don't know.
Because then I can watch all of them.
One-on-one students.
411. Just close. own name.
Is it recorded? Let's do
Do we have pictures? Come forward. Okay, have fun. Investor, whenever. Okay. Alright, everyone. Hello, I'm Kavana Raja. I'm James He.
I'm Kyle Sama. Ryan Rapogel.
And we are CANJax, and welcome to our final presentation. We are a 411-450 group focusing on web development, and let me just go ahead and give you guys a quick run through of what our presentation is going to have in it. So first, I'm going to give you guys the introduction to CANJax. What exactly is this mysterious CANJax? And I'm going to give you guys some background info on our project. Then Carl will go ahead and give you guys our elevator statement and our hypothesis, so you know what exactly we wanted to do with our project. Then James will go over our methods, our development, and the actual data that we collected during our testing. Then Ryan will show, or he'll talk about our website and our marketing. And in between there somewhere, we'll show you guys our amazing implementation, of course. And at the end, we will have questions, because I know some of you guys really want to ask some questions. So, first of all, CANJax. What is that, other than some strange name? Well, let me tell you. CANJax is a formula, and there are two ingredients in that formula. There is HTML5 canvas, and then there's AJAX. But what the shekel are those, right? Well, it's a web development technology, and it's a new framework that we wanted to explore and research, a new way of doing interactive Web 2.0 development. What exactly does that mean, though? Okay, all right. Let me explain. Let me go ahead. HTML5 is the first part of CANJax. And HTML5 is the latest revision of the HTML web standard as developed by W3C. Now W3C is the World Wide Web Consortium. They're the guys who develop and maintain the internet in the modern day. And they're developing this HTML5, which is predicted to become the new standard for web development 2013, 2014. And that means that very soon, all web developers will be creating websites using HTML5. And HTML5 has a plethora of new features. And these new features make web development much easier in many ways. There is the native CSS3 language that makes designing a breeze and makes your websites look pretty. There is also the management for the first time of audio and video in your website. You don't need web players anymore. You have one built into your browser. That's crazy. And of course, there is also an expanded memory cache and better site structure through article and section tags. So let's say you don't like the look of your blog, you can just change one simple tag to change all of a certain article in your website. But the most revolutionary new feature of HTML5, arguably, is the canvas tag. For the first time ever, web developers can render and manipulate graphics in the browser without using plugins such as Flash or Java. Now, Canvas also has the ability to do 2D animations and images, but it can also display 3D vector spatial data. So now, web developers can create 3D animations, 3D environments in the browser with just some HTML code. And the best part is, it's all rendered in the browser. Now previously, web developers had to use something such as Flash or Java to create all of their animations and interactive applications. Well, a lot of us already know that Flash has a tendency to break, it needs to be updated, and sometimes it doesn't work in all browsers. Well, HTML5, being the new web standard, is functional across all modern browsers. And beyond that, it doesn't need to be updated. It doesn't need to be installed. It is a part of HTML, a very part of your website. So you won't ever see something like this. Now, the second part of the CANJax formula is AJAX. Using JavaScript, a web-based scripting language, we can create applications and programs for our website. Now, combining JavaScript and XML HTTP requests, we can have our website communicate with a server, an outside database. So we can send data, and we can get back data, and then change the content on our website dynamically based on these XML HTTP requests. And this AJAX is what we wanted to really explore with this new HTML5 canvas technology. Now, we would have server browser interactions and dynamic content, and in order to create these JavaScript calls, we use the jQuery library, which is a library of pre-programmed JavaScript functions just to expedite our development. Now, Carl, I've given these guys a little background info. Why don't you tell us what we wanted to do?
Well, Kevin was saying a lot of really fantastic things, the kind of things that make you say, well, all those new features in the HTML5 with Canvas and the audio tags, the video tags, etc. Like, why doesn't everybody use this all the time for everything? But that's what we started to think about, and that's where we realized our problem and our need. We realized that there's a lot of cool stuff out there, even though it's new, but because it's new, there is actually a lack of server-side interaction stuff, such as, well, what we're focusing on, multiplayer games. And so we decided that. We looked at the market, and if you look at something like Flash or Java, specifically Flash, you could go to a website like CANJax.com and find literally thousands of multiplayer games available to you that are all Flash-based. But because we believe that this is really a new superior method, and W3C agrees with us, we believe that we think that's a problem, that it's lacking those server-side applications, such as multiplayer games. So that's where we developed our problem statement, which is, as you can read, HTML5 Canvas's server-side application has not been fully explored for integrating multiple user interactions. We noted that as a lack of need in the market, and so we decided to question, well, it's not very pervasive, so we think it should be, incorporated more. So that, of course, led us to our research question: to what extent can HTML5 Canvas become a reliable environment to allow multiple users to interact? And really, what we're just asking ourselves there with that is, how far can we take this? Is this a good method? How far can it go? What all can we do with it? What are the possibilities with multiplayer server-based applications in Canvas? So we developed the hypothesis that if we combine AJAX and HTML5, then we can create this multi-user application that's all rendered within the browser. Because as we looked out, as we researched what was out there, we found that there really wasn't a whole lot. So we had to ask ourselves, well, can we do this? We think we can. So if we were trying to explain it very concisely to each of you, then we have to rely on our elevator statement. There's a lot of words in each of those other parts, so this is really the crux of what we're doing. We are currently researching the extent and applications of client-side and server-side interactions using the Canvas element in HTML5. We are creating applications in Canvas integrating asynchronous JavaScript and XML to test the responsiveness, effectiveness, and the potential of the new standards in multi-user web-based games and applications. Hopefully, James can give you a little bit better explanation, too, for more of the technical details.
All right, so for our project, we really broke it down into 3 phases. In our first phase, we had to research what are some methods we can communicate with the server. And then we also had to research a design for the game, so it can be done with single-player interactions and scale up to multiplayer interactions. So for phase 1, we did single-player interactions with the long polling and WebSockets implementation. And then in phase 2, we added in multiplayer to this. And in phase 3, we tested what the differences between the long polling method and then the WebSockets method. And we also cleaned up our assets and then really worked more on what method was better and cleaned that up. So we really broke it down into 2 methods, long polling versus WebSockets. In our long polling implementation, we use PHP, MySQL, jQuery. In the server streaming or WebSockets, we use jQuery and Socket.io. And our null hypothesis was that the latency of the long polling method was equal to the latency of the WebSockets. Our alternative hypothesis was that the latency of the WebSockets was less than the latency on the long polling, and our significance level was 0.05. Alright, so to quickly explain how long polling works, we have a database, we have the clients, which are all of you guys, and then we have the server, which is represented by this radio station tower. And clients will send data to the database. And then the database will continuously send information through the server back to the clients based on a timed interval. So what really happens is only one direction of sending data. So it's like the client will send data to the database, but even if the client doesn't send information to the database is continually sending information back. So the screen will only be changing when the data in the database has changed. So that was for our long polling method. And to test the latency on this, we had to test the latency on sending data to the database and that recurring information being pulled back to the user. And it was roughly around 300 milliseconds, which means for every 10 seconds you're playing the game, it's lagging for 3 seconds. So that was our first method. And in our next method, it's the WebSockets implementation. And how WebSockets works is the client triggers something in the server. And only when the server is triggered will it send information to everyone else. And this is also a bidirectional channel. So when you connect to the server, it'll be continuously connected to the server. And every time someone sends information, everyone will get it back, instead of this like cycle time. And when we were testing the WebSockets for latency, it was around 9 milliseconds of latency, which was significantly less than the 300 milliseconds on the long polling method. And then now Carl will show the demo.
Yeah, so we talked about all that data. Let's have a look at what we actually did. This is what we did. We bagged the buttons. So here's our splash screen, a little bit of an introduction to our game. And as you notice, aside from the introductions and the layout, the beautiful layout, I might say, there's a login screen there. And there's the option to input your name and enter. As you do that, you create a unique ID for your character. So, I am Mr. Wonderful Handsome. There we go. And I'm going to enter this game. And now, here we are. We're at the game. And it mentioned on the input screen, it's WASD controls. And along with me is somebody else, because I have notified people in this room to join the game. So, here we go. As we're playing, as you'll notice, we have my score, and we also have, over next to it, the score of each person involved. And so there's Jan, and there's Jason, and there's the Buttonator, and there's frame-by-frame rules, and there are other people in this game right now. So, we're all playing, we're all running around, and bagging our own buttons. I've only bagged one at this point. But you'll notice it's inputting the scores of everybody else, because all of that data is being stored and shared with everyone else involved. So if I bag a button, or if, I guess Jan bagged that one, if somebody bagged a button, it's inputted. We can all keep track of how well we're doing. Also, as you go in the sprites are generated randomly. There's 4 characters to play as, and so as you enter, they're generated randomly. So you can see there's 2 Jameses, 1 Carl, 1 Kevin, and 1 Ryan. And so as you can see, this is essentially our game. It's what we believe is that this demonstrates very clearly the potential without taking it too far and without being, you know, too bland. We think this is a very fun game and a fun implementation.
Can I get a show of hands of everyone who's playing right now?
Oh, I just
We got 4 people in here right now who are interacting. In real
Now,
time.
one more thing. Oh, sorry. But yeah, one more thing that I'd like to show is as I refresh, notice I am one of the Jameses. And right now on the screen there's only 1 James. But as I refresh, it's going to log me out. Oh, wait, you know what? How about whoever's playing as Ryan, raise your hand. Eric, can you log out for a minute? Do you guys notice Ryan is in the orange, so go ahead and refresh or exit out, whatever you choose to do. And there we go, it's gone. So all of this is being generated very quickly and accessible to all of us. So now, whoever's playing as Carl, who's playing as Carl? Okay, Martin, can you log out as well? Okay, great. Now somebody just logged in as another Carl. But you see what's going on here. I think this is a good demonstration of what our game is and the potential of it. Now we're going to move it on to Ryan. And Ryan is going to explain a little bit about our marketing and how we really tried to make this game.
When it comes to the CANJax marketing department, ever since day one, our top priority has been branding our company. So the first graphic asset that we created was our logo. As Kevin stated earlier, we created our group name by using both the entity of the HTML5 canvas name as well as AJAX, the asynchronous JavaScript and XML. When we decided upon our color scheme, we further utilized the assets that we had with the HTML5 logo, where we incorporated the orange, and the AJAX logo, the blue. We also wanted to add a little bit of uniqueness to our logo, which is why we used the play on words of adding the game of Jax, Jack, as the X. Now for our marketing strategies, we've utilized both physical print and also digital forms. For the print form, we started off, we created numerous small flyers that have been seen throughout Kanoy Hall, as well as our large group poster, which has advertised our group, a little bit about our group, who's in the group, when our Go No Go presentation was, and also our final presentation today. We also have, we want to take it a little bit further, so we created a couple promotional items. We created some stickers, some promotional pens, as well as these nifty name tags.
Just in case you forget who we are.
Now moving on to the digital side, to incorporate our web presence, we have our website and also our Twitter account. Our Twitter account we use to publish any kind of small news update that might be going on with the company, whenever we publish a new press release, or just whenever there's something that we want to get the word out about. Now moving on to our website, I don't think we really have time to take a look at it specifically. But we have a dedicated landing page that tells a little bit about our company, what we're doing, and what our ambitions are for the semester. Also, you can see on the right side, there are 3 side widgets. The top one being a link to our latest press release. The second one being a link to our Gantt chart where you can track our progress throughout the semester. And lastly, a Twitter widget, which just displays the most recent Twitter activity. In the footer, there are also 3 more widgets. The bottom left, there's a small description about the course of 411, as well as a link to the 411 homepage where you can read more. In the middle, there's a small stock widget, which uses the Real Interaction IPO to dynamically pull the most recent stock information from the class website integrated into a simple widget. And then in the bottom right, just a couple advertisements of showing other groups that we've been affiliated with throughout the semester. We also have an About Us page, which features detailed information about what we're doing, who we are, and also links to our LinkedIn, our personal portfolios, as well as our email address. There's also a dedicated press release page and a contact form that allows all visitors to contact the group, whether for a general inquiry or to purchase stock or what have you. So now I will send back to Kevin to conclude the presentation.
So when we first came into 411 for 50 at the beginning of the semester, we had the idea that we can JAX. And when we got to our go, no-go, we found out that we could JAX. And then we spent the next 8 weeks creating a multiplayer game that required no plugins, no installations, and would work on any modern-day browser. And then we realized that we did JAX. So this is the future of web development, at least in terms of application development. So now we'll open the floor to any questions, and we look forward to seeing what our technology, this framework, will develop into.
Does this still work as a mobile app, too, the game?
Yes, it does work on mobile apps, but we don't actually, I don't think we have any controls right now for.
If you open up your virtual keyboard, the movement says WASD, so.
Oh, nice. You can actually
You could try it.
see on like any mobile device, the game does work and it does refresh. And yes, David.
So is the latency for now pickleball making like real time like shooter games or something?
Yes, we believe so. Using the WebSockets implementation, we reduce latency to, as you can see, a real-time implementation. Of course, it's also based on the server and distance from it and stuff like that. We weren't able to test exactly those variables, but with the WebSockets method, we found as close as we could get to real-time with what would seem to work.
What kind of internet connection were you testing these methods on?
This is PAL 2.0. If that tells you anything about how
I mean,
effective
just
it
like,
is.
were you testing it only on like Purdue's network, or were you doing it at home, or both? Or?
We also did it at home as well.
We also tested that.
We weren't able to test it on the international level, of course. I don't know any relatives that have internet in certain places, but we would have to, that would be something good for future research. Yes?
Your presentation a couple of times mentioned using Canvas server-side. Why are you drawing on the server?
We're drawing on the client,
Okay.
but the information is coming from the server.
Right. But you said Canvas server-side a couple of times, and I was confused as to why you were using that technology on your server. It's because it is entirely a client-side technology.
Right. So we're just using, we're using them together, but like
We're
we're not actually rendering it through the server.
coordinate information is coming from the server to draw images on the canvas. Yes. I actually don't know how we would do those.
I know it wasn't part of what you were doing, but do you feel like what you've created in HTML5 using Canvas can and will be an adequate replacement for what we've become accustomed to seeing in Flash?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, definitely. As we said, Flash is kind of falling off in terms of mobile development and for other reasons. And HTML5 is going to be standard very soon. And it seems like, other than the fact that there's no stage in terms of visual development for like Flash, like you would have Adobe Flash, CS5, and you can actually see your tweens and stuff like that. I still think that HTML5 Canvas is a good replacement. It is definitely powerful. Yes, David.
So are you guys planning on making this a commercial product or like a software development kit or something like that?
We'll be releasing all of our code open source, so we're not going to do too much further development. But if anyone would like to use it, we'll probably be placing the code on our website soon.
Yes.
Did you have any preferable browsers when it came to the Canvas portion? Because I know some of that Canvas is not supported by IE, especially, and some Chrome.
Right, like most modern browsers will work, but optimally try using Firefox and Chrome. Eventually, hopefully they'll support everything.
Yes.
With your work with AJAX and the Canvas this semester, have you implemented it in any other projects or anything?
Yes, so I haven't actually used AJAX in other projects, but I have become much more familiar with JavaScript and using that with HTML5 Canvas, and it's been great development, actually.
I've done some projects with Boxbot. I used AJAX, and in terms of WebSockets, I've done a chat client with WebSockets.
Yes.
Did you find that it can support a large player load, or is there a certain limit to the amount of players that can be on the same server with the HTML canvas?
There's definitely a cap on how many people can be on one page. That would have to, like, in order to go around that, there would have to be additional code added, because there's a certain cache limit to things like images.
When we gathered our data, we found that the game functioned effectively with 4 players, and there were more than that in the room at the time that we showed it. It would probably most likely depend on the server, just how much the server can handle before it crashes.
Are you still using your machine?
Yes.
So, hey, tell them, I guess, what your server currently is, so they know it's not sitting on a robust, high-tech machine, I guess.
I think my machine's pretty high-tech.
Well, it's not on the Purdue network, right?
It's not on the Purdue network.
Okay.
No. That is one of the issues we found with WebSocket development, is that every time you change something on the server, you have to rerun the server. So you have to have access to the server to manage it.
We'll just say it's not on some supercomputer that's in a warehouse down in Texas.
That's kind of the point I was trying to make.
Yeah. Jan?
Do you think the latency that you get is more dependently on the server or on the network themselves? So let's say if you have like a really fast like fiber connection between those two and have like a slow server, do you think that would like minimize the latency instead of having a fast computer with a slower connection?
I'm not completely sure. In my opinion, it would probably be based on the fiber connection, like the actual connection.
Okay, so it's more dependent on the connection than the actual server itself.
I think so, because I think the WebSocket technology is pretty fast.
Yes.
So, say you were to go a little bit more intricate with the design part of it, and make a game like League of Legends. So how would the latency affect that much of the intricate like graphic design stuff?
So using 3D models instead of 2D models.
So when you're using 3D models with the canvas element, you'll probably be using something like OpenGL. And since canvas is client-side, in terms of the data being sent in, that should be fairly quick, but it'll really depend on how good your own computer is to run it on the browser. So
explain where the graphics live, that they're not being transferred.
Yes. So all the graphics is rendered in the browser, of course, so it's not all being sent to the server. So if you're using 3D libraries such as OpenGL or 3DGL, then those graphics would be rendered in the browser and would remain in the browser. So
right, so it would depend on your computer rendering it.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Just wondering if you as you were developing it, if you had other ideas for, the technology outside of gaming.
Oh yes, definitely. This technology is very robust. There's so many things that we can create with it. Chat applications, form, documents, anything that really can be done with Web 2.0 can be recreated with these applications.
So in my opinion, what's really hot in the market right now is probably some sort of analytics system, maybe stock management, so you can like enter data and then it'll regraph it and it'll make it look nice, and then any other kind of like visualization of large data. Anyone else? Professor?
Sure.
Was that supposed to be a cogent symbol on the game?
Yeah, around the edges.
Okay. Yeah. Is that what it was supposed to be?
Well, around the edges of the game, yeah.
On
it was.
11,
Uh-huh.
on 11.2, it says cogent symbol and there's the posted by wire.
Can you repeat it?
I actually have a sample of the cogent symbol, and I was just wondering, branding.
We, just because it was CGT related.
I'm just getting real picky.
Yeah.
I gotta find something.
Carl?
Carl? I think it's Carl's fault.
Sue him. Sue him. He's the one.
I don't know, I just trying to find something.
But they can be taken out of there very easily.
Okay. I really think it should have had a bigger mustache.
Yeah, I thought about outlining the mustache with black, but the pixels were like, it didn't look so great.
He made the
It's just reciprocation for
So what?
using movies.
Oh,
Right. All in good fun.
And did you know that that's not a Gantt chart that's on the website?
Look,
You called it a Gantt chart, but
well, that's the link. There's a link to. Oh, wait. There's a link to the Gantt chart that we submitted to you, which you said you liked.
I like the planning. But that's not a Gantt chart. It's a Gantt chart.
Yeah, good. So in your testing, you showed us a topology where you had the clients talk directly to the database and then talk to the server. And luckily you figured out that that wasn't fast enough and you got rid of it. Can you explain also why that's a horribly bad idea?
There's probably concurrency issues and things like that.
Never let your clients talk to the database directly. Injection attacks and hacks, you gotta let your server be your manager. The database should always be sequestered behind your server, otherwise you'd just get part back together.
Okay.
Don't expose your